here with Alice Rodrigues from Sao Paulo, Brazil. And I have to say, I've gone to Sao Paulo. I'm so lucky, and I absolutely loved the hospitality, the warmth, the beauty of all different places in Brazil and the Brazilian people. And of course, we've been working in Brazil since 2013, I think. And every year is different. And of course, last year was very different. Alice is from an organization, it's an education NGO called Instituto Paramitas. I hope I got that
Yes.
name right.
Yes.
And the goal is to offer digital inclusion to students and teachers from public schools. And
That's it.
Alice has been a volunteer with Technovation for many years, since 2018 now, and is working as a chapter ambassador, working with other volunteers all across Brazil to encourage girls to be technology leaders. So, Alice, welcome and thank you for being here.
Tara, thank you so much for this introduction, and thank you for having me here. I'm very, very honored to be a part of this Field Note series that I've been following on YouTube and on Twitch TV, and having this opportunity to speak with you a little bit about my work and about Brazil and what's going on here. It's an honor. I'm going to start by apologizing that sometimes my English is not fluent, so sometimes I may get lost in some words. So thank you for your
Alice,
patience.
no apologies. I don't know Portuguese, so you should be very proud. Um,
Okay.
okay, so let's start. So tell us what COVID has been like for your community.
So in Brazil, it was very, very hard. If I had to define it in one word, it would be fear, because we have a government that is not very helpful, and it was a chaos for sure in our public health system, and also the growing number of deaths, and the fear that we thought it will never get back to normal. Um, so there was a lot of fake news spread, and when reflecting also in the educational and in the education side, the scenario is the same because the government took too long to take any action in the face of the distribution of pedagogical contents and classes for children, especially for the most vulnerable ones that represents 1/3 of our population. So they don't have access to these contents. And COVID, it's been a fight for these last 12 months.
And I mean, we can relate a little bit, but not. I mean, we've been grateful to have a change in government, but I still get nightmares, and I think a lot of people get nightmares about being in groups and not having masks. And I think it's a deep-seated fear, right? So, so tell us, what have you seen working for education, and how was the shift to online for you? I mean, I didn't realize like 30% of the population is vulnerable or underrepresented, and so how has it been like?
So as I said, most, not most of our country, but a lot of people don't have access to internet, and then don't have access to this online content. So what we've been working on Instituto Paramitas is one of the projects we did is using the radios as an alternative for communication. So we've produced some books, some notebooks with content, and we send it to students' classes. And in a determined time, like midday, on the radio, it would have a class going on, so they could listen it and follow in the notebook, and it had characters for the younger ones. So it became like a fever in Sergipe. That was the state we've run this project. Another thing is WhatsApp. I don't know if you know,
Mm.
it's the most used app for communication here in Brazil. So it was a key piece for teachers and schools to communicate with parents, because sometimes they don't have internet access or computer access, but they have this communication where they could send like pictures of some tasks or videos and interesting texts that the parents could follow with the children sometimes. And this worked. And another thing is in televisions, some states adopt this proposal where classes were live on an open channel, and so they would watch TV and they would watch the content. So this is some strategies we've been working to achieve these people, these students that don't have access to the internet.
So that feels that you guys very rapidly adjusted to the environment. And I think on the Technovation side, the Technovation team was also trying to make sense of the situation. And but I'm very impressed that you were able, like, had you done a radio program before?
No, never. It was a surprise because, but I mean, we thought it would last like 3 months, the pandemic, the
Right.
whole situation. Like in a worst scenario, 3 months, everything will go back to normal. So we had like short time solutions, and the radio was not a short time solution. It was after these 3 months.
I
We
see.
thought, okay, now we need to take action and to see how we can approach these students. So it took a long time of planning, but we've got it was very good, and we can manage to do this in other places because we now have a format.
Yeah, I think same with here. Like once you try something new, the organization understands, it develops that muscle, right? And then you're like, okay,
That's
not
it.
that bad, we can handle it. What surprised you?
I think we already know that Brazil is a we have a very united people. So we join forces. Every time something bad happens here or anywhere in the world, we are a very empathic people. So I think what
I've
surprised me
seen
the
that in
most.
person, for sure.
Thank you. So what surprised me the most is the love of the teachers and the students for the education, because our government in our Ministry of Education, they took too long to take any action and schools were closed, but teachers still, they would see what they could do, and they took actions. They did YouTube channels, even though they didn't have like never recorded a video, but they did it for their students, and they had to they have to adapt very fast, and they did it for their own, not because someone was saying to them, or like, oh, it's part of your job, you should do it. No, it's because it's themselves. They would talk through WhatsApp, they would do YouTube channels or websites, and even though it's not like, oh my god, it's something super professional, but they did their job. So I
Genuine.
consider them our heroes for sure.
Hmm. Um, so if you had to relive 2020, which I hope we don't have to ever, what would you do differently? Because
The first
2021 is also like, it's not that different, you know?
No, no, it's like we are living again, right? So I think the first thing is understanding that we were not dealing with a temporary situation as we thought it was.
Mm.
So the solutions should be decided in a short time of period, but they should work for a long time. And not it shouldn't be like, okay, this is a 3 month solution. No, this should work forever. Even we don't know tomorrow what is it going to be. So I think we should try to see things more in a long term. And a thing I would definitely do is would try to partner with more technology companies to provide access to computers and connectivity to these students from the most vulnerable places, because I think they have their duty to this population, because they have money and they have resources, so they should distribute these resources. And I think me as a Technovation volunteer and as a Instituto Paramitas employee, we should try to reach more these companies and give more resources to people that really need in this moment.
Yeah, and I think maybe that was my next question. Like, what should we keep in mind as we work in 2021, make a plan, and also work to. There's so much data to show that the gap is going to intensify between the people who have access when were able to learn and those who didn't, and there was a huge learning loss. So, um, keeping these in mind, do you want to add to that about what education organizations should be doing this year and next?
Yeah, so in Brazil, about 6 million students from preschool to graduation do not have access to Wi Fi, 3G, 4G. So it's a very large number. And some experts always say that with the pandemic, we are losing the equivalent of 4 years of education here in Brazil. So it's a number that really scares us. And for that being said, I think the offline should be and needs to be a way out. So recover projects and team and pair up with local institutions that work as intranets
Hmm.
and agents to distribute this content because the lack of connectivity is it's a reality. So this is one of our projects too. We have a project called Colibri with we partner with another
Learning
NGO.
equality, right?
Yes, that's it,
Hmm.
learning equality. So here in Brazil, we also take part of Colibri, and we see this as our future here because it works, it really works, and we can reach the offline. So the offline should be an option. I know we live in the most connected world possible, but we should see that it's not everyone who is there. So we should think about people who are still in the offline and how we can achieve them.
Yeah, I agree, and I think this is something that Technovation is also looking into because um, the time is now. We can't wait, right? Like, and children need the support, and so we are actually thinking about creating a version where the problem identification, the field testing can be done offline. There's no, you can go and talk to people and still build out the entrepreneur's journey, figure out your solution. You don't need internet for that.
Yes,
And
and
so,
also the Technovation curriculum. I don't know if you know Colibri, but Colibri they create channels of
mhm,
content and they are available offline. So it's a way out of
yeah,
Technovation curriculum that is already there. So making it available also offline, it's a good
yeah.
way out.
For sure. Um, so what is one story you already shared, like how the teachers were the heroes? What is one story or incident that really sort of restored your faith in humanity last year?
I will have to mention Technovation Girls because last year was historical for Brazil. Because even though everything was happening, here we work in a different calendar, school calendar. So when the pandemic, like, boom, it was the boom of the pandemic, it would be the time where I would be in schools giving presential workshops. And I've never done everything online. So we had to change it very, very quickly. And even though all this happened, and I thought like, oh my God, okay, let's see what we can do. But I was very dismotivated. But even though we had like 76 teams that delivered, and we have 11 semifinalist teams, and one team was the champion with the in the competition. So I thought this is the best prize for me because I think the learning journey. I always say the Technovation, it's a competition. Okay, we love competition, but the learning journey that these girls have for their lives, and I still have contact with most of the girls, and this year again. So Technovation Girls for sure it's my successful story and my inspirational story.
Yeah, for us too. That's why it was very, very hard. I think last year was the hardest year for us.
Yes.
And but just seeing the girls persist, we were like, okay, if they are managing, then we have no excuse. Um, so, what is one book we should read to be more kind and better human beings?
Okay, so I'll have to mention this man called Ailton Krenak. He is a Brazilian writer, journalist, but most of all, he's a leader of an indigenous movement. And he talks a lot about climate justice and what we should do, what we should think for our future. And this book is called Ideas to Postpone the End of the World. So, in Portuguese, Ideias para Adiar o Fim do Mundo. And he mentions a lot about what we are doing in this space we are following, what will we achieve as a community, as a world, because this is our home. This is what we should be fighting for. And if we keep this space of destroying and uh, money, 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 we should think more about our environment. And one thing he says a lot, it's if we keep one part of land, this is not sustainable for our world. We should keep everything safe, you know. And so I think this book, it's a very positive way to keep fighting. And I will put the link here in the comments. It's
I put it
this.
in, Alicia.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. And I think what you were saying before, that it's not enough to have just one park in your city and say, okay, yes, we have one park, and then cover the entire ground with concrete. That's
that
not how this works.
that
And say, okay, we have one forest area, and then go and clear everything else. That's not how an ecos.
it's like a triangle of Earth is not Earth. Earth
Yeah.
should be everything, you know.
Yeah, and yeah, I love the thing of question of like, how do you define Earth? It's not concrete, it's not a building,
Yes,
right? That's
it's
not the
our
image.
rivers, it's our trees, it's our birds, it's our animals too. We should think
Yeah,
everything as part of one system.
yeah, agreed. I'm definitely going to. I'm glad it exists in English. And last question, what should we be working on with intention this year?
So I think we are worldwide living the chaos. So we should help each other with more compassion and tolerance and empathy most of the times, because it's our duty to take care of everything and everyone around us, the planet, our community, our body, our environment. Everything is connected. So we must take the reins of our destiny, because if we see a problem, we should we should go and solve it. You know, we should not be waiting for someone to solve it. So we must lead the change we want to live and we want to see in the world.
Oh, I love that. That's my favorite quote from Gandhi. Um, Alicia, thank you so much. That was very, very inspiring and so sort of emblematic of Brazil, you know.
Thank you
Um,
so much for letting me here, and it's been a pleasure to talk with you. You inspire me a lot,
it goes
and
both ways. It goes both ways. I mean, like, we have to take care of each other, work with each other, right? And one person cannot be the change they want to see in the world. Okay, thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you for the comments. And Alicia, you were fantastic. Next week, we're going to have Sengmeng Ku from AI Singapore, and we're going to talk about how AI can be used to tackle a lot of these problems that we are seeing, right? Like, we need to think about the most powerful technologies for these big problems that we have, but people being the core and center of it. So, thank you, everyone. Have
thank
a great
you.
weekend. Bye.